Good evening, everyone. I'm Ankit, and you're watching the Indian Express analysis. Now, after looking at today's paper, I was wondering whether or not the editors of Indian Express were on holiday or not. Because, well, as I opened the newspaper, I saw many articles that we have already done, specifically yesterday, and other articles they were not so relevant from our today's discussion point of view. But despite that, I've managed to salvage some of the important articles that are given on the website of Indian Express, and with that we'll begin our today's session, that is of 19th of February. Now if you can see from the articles behind me, we'll be dealing with 5 important articles today. The first one is about band-aid for plants. This is about a cellular organization or organism which can be used as a band-aid for plants, and this article is important from GS paper 3 perspective, that is the syllabus of science and technology. Also, we'll be dealing with earthquake or about earthquake in Delhi that happened 2 days ago. However, this earthquake in general was very different from the usual earthquakes in India. So in our today's discussion about the earthquakes in Delhi, we'll try to understand why is actually Delhi witnesses so frequent earthquakes, what are its geological reasons, and also we'll try to understand why this earthquake in Delhi was different from the usual one. Now, earthquake in general is a part of which syllabus? It's a part of geography syllabus, therefore it makes it relevant from GS paper 1 perspective, understood? So that is why we are going to cover this article. Then we'll be understanding about the new Dunki route, that is via Europe, as many people who have been deported back to India, they've highlighted that instead of the usual route through southern American countries, they have taken another unusual route through Europe. So we'll try to understand why actually these illegal immigrants take route via Europe and how it is different from the usual route in South America. Now these type of articles, generally these are important from geographical perspective because it tells us many important geographical locations which are used by these kind of immigrants, understood? So that is why it is also important from GS paper 1 perspective. Then we'll be understanding about the abortion laws in India, which is regulated through Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971. In what cases can actually women undergo the procedure of abortion? We'll try to understand this in line of a decision made by Bombay High Court, which allowed a woman with 25 weeks duration of pregnancy to abort her child. So what were the grounds or what were the reasons for the Bombay High Court to actually allow the woman to undergo abortion procedure? We'll try to understand this. Now these kind of articles, these are important from GS paper 2 perspective because issues related to health, these are examples of social sector and they are a part of GS paper 2 syllabus. And before the end of our today's discussion, we'll be understanding about the polity related concept of constitutional morality, because these kind of concepts, they have been mentioned in many news articles. And also when many questions are appearing in prelims these years that have highlighted or that have asked aspirants about various important concepts of polity. So in this regard, the term constitutional morality becomes important. So we'll try to understand this constitutional morality in detail. How is it different from societal morality? Is it actually blind faith in constitution? Every of these curiosity or every of these question of yours will be discussed in our today's discussion. Now, as you know, the usual exercise, you can download the notes which is provided in the Telegram channel, the ATS Live. So you can search it on the top right hand corner of the app, or you also can scan the QR code which will take you directly to my Telegram channel. And if you're liking this video, please, a request from my side, please do not forget to hit that thumbs up button, and also please let us know in the comment section after this video ends, how do you like this video? Is it helping you in the preparation or not? We'd like to know. And also as a request, why I tell you to do these kind of things, because it helps our content reach more aspirants like you. And when we are able to help more aspirants like you in understanding current affairs, it will be a job well done for us. Understood? Now I see large participation from you guys. Kalpana, good evening. Baga, Spinks, good evening. Augustine, Ashil, Amar, Niranjan, Lydia, Sejal, FTY, Kusum, yes. Ashil has already said answer C. Let me solve it for you. Now this was the question I gave you yesterday as a homework. Consider the following statements regarding soybean cultivation. Soybean is a rabi crop that grows well in sandy soil. Now both of these statements are incorrect. Rabi, it is a kharif crop, and also it grows well in loamy soil. Loamy is a dense kind of soil and sandy soil is very thin kind of soil. India is the largest producer of soybean in the world, followed by Brazil and USA. Again, this is correct. India is one of the major producers, but the largest producer is Brazil. It is followed by US. It is followed by country of Lionel Messi, Argentina. Understood. So these are the top three producers. Except these three, India and China are the major producers. Understood. Now Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan are the top soybean producing states in India. Yes, this is correct. Madhya Pradesh in India is the largest producing state of soybean. So only third statement is right. First and second are incorrect. We had to identify correct statement. Option C is the right answer. Yes, Amar. Yes, Ashil. You're right. Sorry, I don't get your name. I guess this is written in Korean. Sir, I'm not attending any coaching classes because I'm juggling with work as well. Will it be sufficient if I regularly attend your classes here? Any other material I need to study? Well, you need to study your basic portions or your foundational subjects, but for your current affairs, this is enough for you. Watch these daily. Or even if you don't have the time, download the notes from the Telegram session if you have paucity of time. Otherwise, I'll recommend you watch these sessions daily. Your current affairs would be covered entirely. FTY sessions are very helpful. Thank you, FTY. Sneha, good evening. Arya, good evening. Now, this will be the question of the day that I will be covering before the end of the session. Constitutional morality, it is not a limited concept but a dynamic force for social transformation. So, in line of this quote, you have to evaluate with reference to recent legal developments in India that how has actually constitutional morality of dynamic force for social transformation. So, need not worry, we'll be understanding the concept before we'll attempt to solve this kind of question. Now, I told you, right, today's newspaper did not have anything relevant for us for today's perspective, because if you open explain section, you will see articles related to new CSE appointments and also related to other developments which we have already covered yesterday. So it did not make it a point for me to cover those articles again today, right? So that is why I have borrowed today's articles from the website of Indian Express. The source remains the same, only the method or the medium has changed. Okay, now the first article which appeared in the website, it says that a bacteria made band-aid for plants. A new study has actually found such materials which can be used as a band-aid for plants. Now, what are these materials? These are bacterial cellulose that can be used as bandages, and these can significantly improve healing and regeneration in plants. And researchers who have published their work in Science Advances journal, they have claimed to find such kind of a bacterial cellulose. So, in our today's discussion, let us first understand what are these bacterial cellulose and how they can act as a bandage which can improve the healing properties of plants. Now, bacterial cellulose is nothing, it is but a natural polymer that is produced by certain bacteria. So, origin of these cellulose are bacterial in nature, please remember that. Now, it is usually used as a human medicine, especially for the purpose of wound healing. Now, the scientific discoveries are focusing to harness its potential for agricultural application. For example, it can facilitate the process of grafting, which is a process that can help join plant tissues together effectively. Also, it can help preserve the cut plant material as it prevents dehydration and infection in cutting. So you can understand, even if you pluck a flower which can be sold for commercial purposes, and if it is having bacterial cellulose, the dehydration or going bad of that particular stem of plant would be slower. Also, it acts as a growth medium in laboratories, as it could serve as a substrate for plant tissue which can be used for cultural experiments. Understood? So these are the three properties of bacterial cellulose, and this is why the scientists are exploring whether or not these bacterial cellulose can be applied for agricultural purposes, right? Now, let us understand what these studies have actually found, whether or not this bacterial cellulose can be used for plants or not. Now, first of all, studies have found that these bacterial cellulose, when they were wrapped over a piece of wood, it led to faster wound healing in plants. Now, small cuts, they were made into the leaves of two lab plants, and bacterial cellulose patches, they were applied to only half of the wounds that were made in the plants. Now, the result of this experiment was actually over 80% of the wounds that were treated with this bacterial cellulose, they healed within a week, whereas only less than 20% of the untreated wounds, they showed a signs of healing within a week's period. So from this experiment, we can safely concur that the use of bacterial cellulose over any cuts that were made into the plants, it resulted into faster healing of the plants. Understood? So bacterial cellulose, it significantly accelerates the plant's wound healing. So this was the first finding. Another finding is that it improved the process of vegetation or vegetative propagation. For example, vegetative propagation, it is just a common technique in agricultural processes which is used to grow genetically identical plants. First of all, we make a cut in a particular plant and a genetically identical plant is attached to it, and with this process what we see is that the genetically identical plant, it grows over the another plant. So this is the process of vegetative propagation. Now this study has actually found that bacterial cellulose, when it is wrapped over the cut where we insert the genetically identical plant over the cut, it has enhanced this process, making it more efficient. So the newer plant which is grown over the identical plant, the process of this growth, it is increasing just because we have applied this bacterial cellulose. Now the practice question, let us try to solve this practice question. I have curated this question on bacterial cellulose. It is a natural polymer produced by certain bacteria and is widely used in human medicine, particularly for wound healing. Is it so? Yes. The first statement in the previous slide that I told you, originally it has been used for healing of humans, particularly over the wounds. The second statement, bacterial cellulose has no potential application in agriculture as its properties make it unsuitable for plant related use. Is it correct? Obviously not, as we have discussed that scientists now have evidence that these bacterial cellulose can also be effective for wounds over the plants. So it has practical applications. Yes, Baga Spinks, FTY. Second statement is incorrect, first is right, therefore option A is correct. Amar sir, you look good today, only today. Now let us move to next article. This article actually highlighted that how tremors in Delhi that was witnessed 2 days back in the morning, that woke me up also. How was it different from the usual earthquake that originates in Himalayas? So let us try to understand about the quakes. Now the magnitude of earthquake, the magnitude of 4 of the earthquake that struck Delhi 2 days back, it was the strongest earthquake that was witnessed in Delhi in last 5 years. However, you understand Delhi is no stranger to earthquake, as every few months or so there are instances where earthquake, even if of milder magnitude, they strike Delhi. However, what is different of this earthquake was that the experience of people was quite different. From my personal experience, I could say I heard a different kind of a voice that was similar to something shaking, and also it was, although the magnitude was 4, but it felt like it was something very severe earthquake. Understood? So that is why the article highlights why was it so severe despite being of just 4 magnitude earthquake. Now before that, you have to understand the seismic zones of the country. Indian country has been defined by the vulnerability of earthquake, that which area is more or less vulnerable to earthquake, and these have been divided into seismic zones. Now from this image you can see zone 5 is actually the places which are very highly prone to damage due to earthquake, whereas zone 2 are the least. Now these zones are identified based on an MSK scale. These MSK scales, these are actually, it measures the susceptibility of an area due to earthquake. For example, not all areas can be damaged equally by earthquake, right? Suppose if an earthquake strikes a forest area, so the damage in that forest area, although can be quite prominent, but the economic or human kind of a damage or loss in that area would not be that much. But imagine if an earthquake strikes a densely populated area like Delhi or Mumbai. So you can understand it would create a lot of infrastructural, human related damage, and God forbid, it can also kill a large number of people, right? So that is why we need to understand the dangers or the susceptibility of the area related to earthquake, and for that we have curated different kind of zones. Now from this image you can see that Delhi lies here, that is in the zone 4, which has a very high damage risk zone. Understood? So it is only second from the highest rating, that is Delhi belongs to zone 4. Understood? Now, let us understand why is actually Delhi so susceptible or so prone to earthquake. Now, first of all, I told you in terms of zone classification, Delhi belongs to zone 4 of India's earthquake map hazard, which makes it a place which has a high to moderate earthquake risk, which is higher than the usual amount of places in India. Now, also the location of Delhi geographically, it belongs or it is located into an area called as Aravali Delhi Fold Belt. Now, Delhi is situated in the Aravali zone, which is a range of mountains on the eastern part of Rajasthan, and this is a seismically active geological zone. Now, in these areas, which lies between stretches of Rajasthan to Haryana, and it extends even until Delhi, this area is characterized by a deformed layer of rock which were created by tectonic processes. Now, this rock, although it was created millions of years ago, however, even currently these rock formations, they have a significant amount of local stress pockets. Now, you understand, when these local stress pockets they exist, so there is a chance that these stresses might be released in form of earthquake, right? Just for example, a person who is angry, if you poke that person, it's a probability that person will get angry. So this is similarly, you can assess that any area that has inbound stresses over it just because of geological formation or because of fold mountain or tectonic plate movements, so there is a chance that these areas will release these stresses in form of the movement of tectonic plates, which results into earthquake. So this is kind of a very high probability in areas of Aravali fault, and this is why Delhi is so susceptible to earthquake. But in comparison, you have to understand this area is not so intensely or frequently witnessing earthquake as compared to Himalayan region, but it has a significantly higher probability of earthquake. Also, this region lies very closely into the proximity of Himalayan fault. Himalayan fault, you understand, or Himalayan range of mountains, these are fold mountains that were formed due to collision of a peninsular and a oceanic tectonic belt. Now, although Delhi is not so close to the active fault lines of the Himalayan region, but you have to understand Delhi is still connected to the Himalayan region. So that is why any earthquake, if it is originating in Himalayan region, it can relatively affect Delhi. Although it is more likely that the amount of earthquake or the intensity of the earthquake will not be as severe, but as Delhi is a densely populated area, so you have to be quite sure about it. Understood? Sir, apart from mining, increased infrastructure, what has caused these earthquakes? Well, not actually. These kind of normal infrastructure, they do not result into earthquake, but that kind of dam building that we have seen, that can create potential of earthquakes, which we witness in Himalayan northeastern region. Now, why was actually Delhi's earthquake so different, and why was it felt so severe? First of all, you have to understand that the origin place of the earthquake or the epicenter, it was quite shallow. It was not that deep into the earth, and shallow earthquakes are the ones that are classified which originate within 70 kilometers of the earth's surface, whereas on the other hand, intermediate earthquakes are the one which originate between 70 to 300 kilometers from the earth's surface, whereas the deep earthquakes are the one which happen between 300 to 700 kilometers below the surface. Now, Delhi's was a shallow earthquake which happened just few kilometers below the earth's surface. Now, these shallow earthquakes, they generate seismic waves which reach the surface quite quickly and intensely, and that is why they have a higher potential to create destruction, and also the experience of people in terms of magnitude, it is high. So this is why even a 4 magnitude earthquake that struck Delhi 2 days back, it felt quite severe. Understood? Now, let us move to the next article. This article actually talks about an origin of new Dunki route, or a route which is used by illegal immigrants to travel to countries like US. So let us understand what is this new route about, and why is this called a new route, why not a usual route, right? Now, the context of this article is that US currently is in a process of deporting illegal immigrants which are originating from other countries, and for India, there are 3 flights that have been sent from US which has deported about more than 300 Indian deportees who has immigrated or who had immigrated to US illegally. Now, this is actually a policy of President Trump that he has made illegal immigration a big election issue, and that is why since he has come to power, he has ensured that he is sending these illegal immigrants immigrants back to their country of origin. Now, several Indian deportees, after coming to India, they have actually revealed that instead of using the usual route, they have used the route through Europe, which is the new route that have been discussed today. Now, instead, they went via Europe to Central American countries, which bypasses the usual South American route that the illegal immigrants usually take. So, in this process, let us understand the routes that are taken by illegal immigrants to countries like US. First of all, there are two routes. The usual route that I am talking about is from India to Latin America, and when they reach Latin America in countries like Ecuador, El Salvador, which are located here, they start migrating northward through this Panama, El Salvador, Nicaragua, etc. to Mexico, and then they enter into US. Whereas the second route that we will be talking about today is through the areas of Turkey as well as Eastern European region. They reach there via Schengen visa and they take an alternative route either through Mexico or through Canada. So this is the second route that we will be talking about in our today's discussion. Now, before that, let us understand the usual Dunki route. Now, usually Indians who lack a valid visa document, they attempt to enter into US through South American countries like Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia, and from these countries of South America, they enter Central America, particularly through countries like Panama and Guatemala. And this is why, because this has secured a direct, or this allows people to get a direct visa to South American countries, which is not possible for countries like Mexico. For example, countries like Ecuador, etc., they offer Indians visa on arrival, and that is why they use these kind of routes. But from Central America, in order to reach Mexico, they have to attempt to cross a very tricky region, which we have already explained to you, called as Darian Gap. Understood? Darian Gap is a region before Panama. This is actually a swamp or a densely forested area which does not have presence of modern infrastructure like roads, railways, etc. So navigating through this Darian gap is actually very dangerous, and it also causes death to many illegal immigrants. Understood? So that is why this region is tricky, and that is why people are trying to avoid this particular region to immigrate into US illegally. So that is why the new route has emerged, which is through actually European countries, as it has become more popular because it is quicker and also less treacherous alternative to the ones located in Panama jungle. Now, migrants, they first of all secure a Schengen visa. This Schengen visa, it allows the visitors to visit n number of European countries, which is generally very easy to get, and these generally is very easy to procure. That is why the illegal immigrants, they want to visit these European countries and tourists, and from there they try to contact people who will eventually help them reach US, and in the process they seek assistance from many agents who help them secure routes which enables them either to reach US through Canada or through countries of Central America. Now, they also take an alternative route through Middle Eastern countries like Dubai, Qatar, or even Turkey, which is used to reach Central America directly, and from there they can navigate safely to countries like US. Now, migrants, they cover most of their journey by air, and the remaining part in the Central America through Nicaragua and El Salvador, either on foot or through cars, which is obviously very safe and less strenuous as compared to the passage of Darian Gap. Understood? Now, this has made European route much more appealing, despite the fact that this is much more expensive than the usual South American route. Understood? Now, as I tell you every day, we are in a process of offering you courses which will help you understand the various important aspects of the polity syllabus and also other foundational syllabus, because you understanding these kind of static portions are very essential if you are going to attempt the UPSC exam. Now, students, they always face difficulty when understanding these static subjects if they have overlooked it. So StudyIQ has a solution for you, and for that you have an option. Let me shift it. Now you have an option to register for these UPSC foundation courses which are available on the website, and if you can see, these are right now, we are in a process of admitting students on batch 2, because batch 1 has all the seats have already been filled. And for example, if you are going to attempt UPSC exam in 2026, you can click for this batch, and going for that you can see the course fees right now is 37,499. But let me start this ticker right now. But from the ticker that you can see from the screens behind me, this course can be available at a significant discount. For that, you have to add a promo code here. Click on add promo code. There will be an option to enter coupon code as ATS live. which is my code, and if you apply this ATS live, you see the course fees from 37,499 it has reduced to 29,999, which is a saving of 7,500 rupees, and you will get this saving only when you apply the code ATS live. So this is how you can further get discounts on the courses which originally are available on a very reasonable rate. So please use this opportunity to enroll yourself into the courses and make sure that you know everything before you go and attempt the UPSC exam. Understand? Now let us move to our today's discussion back. Now, the next article in our today's discussion, it actually deals with the abortion topic, as there is a 24-week limit currently as per the laws of abortion in India. But despite this limit, the Bombay High Court, it actually allowed a woman who had the pregnancy for a duration of 25 weeks to conduct or to get her pregnancy aborted in a private hospital in our country. So in this regard, let us try to understand what was this judgment which provided for an exception to the woman, and this judgment was given by which body? That is Bombay High Court. Now it deals with the rules that relates to the abortion laws in the country. So in that regard, let us understand what are the laws related to abortion in India. Now, as per section 3 of the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, which is the act which deals with matters related to abortion, the termination of pregnancy, it can take place up till 20 weeks of pregnancy from the time of conception if the advice of one registered medical practitioner is taken. Now, in case of pregnancy, if it is between 20 to 24 weeks, then you have to take the permission of two registered medical practitioners, and if they give you the permission, then you can undertake the process of abortion, right? So this is the usual law. Now there was this another rule that was enacted by the Union government called as MTP rules of 2003, which allows or which permits abortion between 20 to 24 weeks of pregnancy for some categories. For example, if the woman who has pregnancy and the result of this pregnancy is because of a sexual assault or rape that happened on the woman, or even for minors, and if there is a change in marital status of the woman, then the woman can opt for abortion of a pregnancy. And also, if there is a medical evidence that the fetus of that women, it has certain kind of physical disability or mental illness, so even in that case the woman can opt for a abortion. So this is what the rules talk about. Now, if the abortion if the pregnancy period has gone beyond 24 weeks, even then the MTP Act allows for a medical board to give the permission for the abortion. For that, actually a medical board of experts of doctors will be set up by a state government in each district of our country, and this medical board will actually consider the cases where the woman has the pregnancy of more than 24 weeks and whether or not they should allow pregnancy to be aborted for that woman. Now, they allow the termination of pregnancies in some cases. For example, if the medical practitioners, they believe that the continuation of the pregnancy would actually put women's life in danger or even can cause grave physical or mental health risk to that woman. So in that case, the pregnancies or the abortion of pregnancies can be provided for even beyond 24 weeks. And also, if there is a substantial risk that the child which will be born out of this pregnancy would have any serious physical or mental abnormality which can create certain hardships for the parents, then also the pregnancy would then also the abortion would be allowed even beyond 24 weeks. So for that, you need to create a separate medical board which is created in every district by the state government, and that medical board will actually decide whether or not to allow the abortion in such cases. Also, whether or not such abortions can happen in private hospitals, this is also matter of discussion. For example, section 4 of the MTP Act, it provides that pregnancy can be terminated at a hospital which was established and maintained by the government or at a place for the time being which is approved by the MTP Act by the government or by the district level committee, which is usually headed by the chief medical officer or the district health officer. So it can take place at a government hospital or at any place which has been approved by the district level committee. Understood? So theoretically, there is a potential that even private hospitals can undertake this abortion processes. Now, the district level committee under rule 5(6) of the MTP rules, it can consider if any application by the private hospital is filed, whether or not to allow that private hospital to conduct abortion exercise. For that, a form has been required to be submitted by the private hospital for termination of pregnancy, and it includes two categories: termination of pregnancy up to 12 weeks and pregnancy post 24 weeks, up to 24 weeks. Now, the case particularly which was heard by the Bombay High Court, this dealt with the case because women had pregnancy for more than 24 weeks. However, if you look at the rule, it was not amended to change it according to the amendments made in MTP Act. Therefore, the Form A, it only provided for two options, that is pregnancy up to 24 weeks or pregnancy up to 24 weeks. However, no case was provided what if the pregnancy went beyond 24 weeks. So that is why, because of this procedural lacuna, the woman in question, she was not able to get her pregnancy aborted. And as a result, she had to file for an application in the Bombay High Court, and that is why Bombay High Court allowed her the exception that even without such Form A, she can get her pregnancy aborted in a private hospital of her choosing. Understood? Now, Bishwabrat, good evening. Sir, still not used to our new time schedule. Even I am not used to it, but what we can do? Sir, how diplomatic do you think Trump not answering Indian media is? See, Trump is actually US president. He has obligation towards US people and US media. Why would he have obligation towards any other media, right? So it is not actually something a matter of discussion. Nobody respects Indian media in general. Rajpal, good evening, sir. I'm late. No problem, Rajpal. You can watch the remaining video after this ends. Okay. Sir, okay. I felt the earthquake. Who said FTY? Okay, okay. Hey, what a savage reply, Kusum Banerjee. I don't know, Kusum, what savage reply you're talking about. Now let us solve this practice question. With reference to Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, consider the following statement. The act allows abortion for up to 24 weeks of pregnancy. Yes, you're right. This is directly provided in the act that up till 20 weeks of pregnancy, you required to take an opinion of one medical practitioner, and from 20 to 24 weeks, you require an opinion of two medical practitioners. Understood? Now, the opinion of only one registered medical practitioner is required for termination up to 20 weeks, whereas two doctors' opinion are required beyond 20 weeks. Yes, this is right. So, first, second statement right. The act permits termination of pregnancy only in government approved medical institutions and not in private hospitals. This is incorrect, as we have already dealt with. With permission, even private hospitals can undertake this abortion process. Understood? So, third statement incorrect. First and second is right. Option A is right. Yes, Bagas Pinks, you are right. Good evening, Ravi. Ravi Kumar, good evening. Sir, what are your views on abortion law? See, who am I to give my views on abortion law? What the law states, law is supreme even for us, for you, for me, for everyone. We live under a period of rule of law. Now, let us move to the last article of the day. This article actually dealt with the issue of constitutional morality, because we understand there are many judgments of Supreme Court that highlights or that puts the word constitutional morality in use, and this is also used by Indian judiciary to interpret new laws and change these laws accordingly if they are not according to what is called as constitutional morality. So, in our process of our today's discussion, let us understand what this constitutional morality actually means, right? So, this constitutional morality, it actually refers to guidelines which are enshrined in the constitution, and these guidelines of the constitution, they are intended to protect the visions what the constitution highlights. For example, what is morality? It is actually an individual notion of what is right and wrong, right? So suppose if we live in a democratic society, so what we think is that any person, if they will have pass any law without the due process, that is an immoral decision, right? Suppose in Indian society, humility is a morality, that if a person shows off his or her own wealth, we consider that person not to be good person, because humility is something which is well recognized in Indian society. So this is an individual or societal notion of morality. On the other hand, the constitution, it has certain principles enshrined in it. So according to this principle, what is right and wrong according to the constitutional principle, this is what constitutional morality is, right? So actually you have to understand this concept of constitutional morality, it goes beyond what is written in the constitution, but it is actually interpreted from a wider connotation, that even the matters that are not written in the constitution, if it is in line with constitution, we agree for the fact that that is a constitutional morality. Agreed? So this is what the constitution constitutional provisions of right and wrong. This is what constitutional morality is. So suppose India is a democratic country which is provided in the constitution. So from that concept, dictatorship is wrong. From that concept, communist rule is wrong. From that concept, autocracy is wrong, right? So this is what constitutional morality is. Now you have to understand the Supreme Court in India, it has interpreted this constitutional morality based on its various judgment. For example, in Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case, the judgment of which was passed in 2018, the Supreme Court said that the constitutional morality, it argues that the law of the land, it must evolve with the line of fundamental right, because according to fundamental right, it provides every person the right to live according to his or her own wishes. That is a part of right to life. So any law which is passed by the Indian Parliament, or even before Indian country became a country in general, every law has to now follow the provisions of constitutional provisions, right? So in that case, the Supreme Court of India, it highlighted that the law which prevented or which criminalized homosexuality, it was a colonial origin law, and it went against the very principle of fundamental rights in India. So that is why it decriminalized a portion of section 377, which actually provided for homosexual to live without any fear. So it decriminalized the process of homosexuality just because these laws that were passed by the Indian Parliament, this went against the very process of constitutional morality, which we can interpret in a form of fundamental rights. Understood? Now, good morning, Ravi Raghavan. Good morning, Nai. Good evening. Now, another case is also the Supreme Court has given its very important judgment. For example, Indian Lawyers Young Association versus State of Kerala 2018, which is more popularly known as Sabrimala case. If you can remember, in this case, there was a petition by women. As we can understand, in Sabrimala temple back then, women in their menstrual cycle, or in the ages when they have menstrual cycle, they were not allowed to enter the temple. So this was actually went against the very idea of gender equality, because why, if we consider men to be equal as women, so why aren't we preventing, or why aren't we allowing the women to enter the temple? So this matter reached the Supreme Court of the country, and Supreme Court actually allowed for entry of women of all ages into the Sabrimala temple, highlighting that gender equality is actually a part of constitutional morality, because constitution from article 14 states that everybody is equal in the eyes of law. So what if we are not allowing women? Is actually women then equal to men, right? Not right. So that is why it allowed for entry of women to the temple and entry of all women of all ages, right? And also in the Shaira Bano cases versus Union of India, which was actually known as Triple Talaq case, here the Supreme Court of India declared the practice of Triple Talaq as an illegal practice, because you understand, a marriage is not just a sacred union, but it is also a legal union between a man and a woman. So it shouldn't be as easy for a man to give divorce to a woman just by uttering the words talaq 3 times, or by WhatsApping her talaq 3 times, right? So this should not be the case. So this is why this kind of a practice was made illegal by Supreme Court, and that is why it was ended, because there should be an equality between man and woman, and it shouldn't be as easy for any person to end their marriage. Okay, so this is what some cases highlight, that how we should interpret constitutional morality, that what is there in the constitution, first of all we have to recognize it, and every other kind of conceptions of right and wrong we have to see from the lens of Indian constitution, and this is what constitutional morality means. Now, is constitutional morality equal to or different from public morality? As I told you, like, the idea of society, or in general even individuals, of right and wrong can be quite different. So for example, in some societies they do not treat women equally, but is not treating women equally a part of constitutional morality? No, obviously, because constitution, on the other hand, irrespective of what society or individual might think, constitution, it prioritizes values like reason, justice and rights, and that is why these kind of values, they take precedence over our concepts of right and wrong, our customs, or even our majoritarian beliefs, right? So that is why constitutional morality is very different from popular morality. There's a chance that popular morality might not be correct from the lenses of constitution. That is why we have to read and interpret everything not from the societal perspective, but from the constitutional perspective. For example, many people say that you have to restrict the freedom of speech and expression so as to protect the religious sentiments of the person or for any community. But the constitution on the other hand says that people, they generally have a right to freedom of speech and expression, and this freedom of speech and expression cannot be based on any sentiment but only on the fact that it should not harm the public order. So the only criteria where we should prevent freedom of speech and expression from happening is that if it endangers public order, and not what if it hurts your or mine religious sentiments. Understood? Now, is constitutional morality, other question, blind faith towards constitutional provision, or is it constitutional patriotism? The answer is no. That despite constitutional morality, which highlights the morality of constitution, and we have to understand concept of right and wrong from the lenses of constitution, it does not mean that we have to blindly trust the constitution, because constitution eventually is a document which was written back in 1950, and there's a fair bit of chance that any society would have changed from 1950 and onwards. So there should be a process even under the constitutional morality that constitution can be changed or amended as per the needs of then society or the then polity. That is why this constitutional morality, it focuses on processes and critic, whereas on the other hand constitutional patriotism, it leans more towards the singular national identity or singular constitutional identity. On constitutional morality, it offers us a mature form of constitutionalism, that we understand and respect constitution, but we also have to understand that constitution is a written document and we should interpret and challenge it according to the changing times. And that is why there is a balance that we need to ensure, that is protection of constitutional ideals and also the ability to change constitution according to the needs and demands of the people of the country, right? So this actually prevents from constitutional fundamentalism, rather encourages what is known as constitutional rationalism. Understood the difference? Now the last slide, whether or not constitutional or how is constitutional morality applicable in our today's time. We have to understand that there are many majoritarian beliefs or many popular beliefs that might go against a small section of population. So in that light, we have to understand constitution, first of all, it protects minority rights against majority operations, as there are many provisions in the Indian constitution, article 25, article 29, 30, which gives rights to even minority people, and we have to ensure that these minority rights are enjoyed by these communities and not that the majority, they prevail upon these minorities and they impose their own conceptions of right and wrong on the minorities. Also, it ensures legal and societal justice. As I told you, society in general, it discriminated between man and a woman in line of preventing them from entering temple, in line as making the divorce process so easy that just by uttering the triple talaq 3 times, you will be granting the divorce to the wife. It shouldn't be so. That is why it provides for social justice to people belonging to marginalized section. It provides for reservation to marginalized communities. It provides for right to equality of women. Right, so this is how it ensures both legal and societal justice, which is beyond our personal and religious beliefs, because personal and religious belief might discriminate between a person and another person, but the law of the land or the constitution of the land shouldn't do so. And also it strengthens the democratic institutions. First of all, it upholds the concept of rule of law, that is the rule of individual won't work in the country, but rather you, I, everyone in the country, we are subjected to the provisions of law which is duly passed by the Indian Parliament from the persons we have elected them and we have sent them to the Parliament. Also, it promotes ideas such as inclusivity and rational decision making, not impulsive decision making. For example, what if people believe that catching a thief and punishing him or her there itself is an idea of good, right? But the rule of law doesn't provide that. What is right in Indian context or in Indian constitution context is that once we catch a thief, we should provide it or hand it over to police, who should then present him in the court of law, and it is the responsibility of court of law to give him or her the punishment according to the crime and the law of the land. So this is how we can interpret constitutional morality in today's time. Understood? Do you have any doubt? Now let us now understand how to approach or how to write this answer. This answer tells you the constitutional morality is not a limited concept but a dynamic force of the social transformation. So your introduction of this question, you should begin by defining or telling us what the word constitutional morality is, right? And the body of your answer, you have to look the second, evaluate with reference to the recent legal development. So the body of your answer, you should say the cases of Supreme Court, and you should also say how is this different from popular morality, or how is it different from the blind faith in constitutional provisions. And then you should write the third portion of this body, is that how is it relevant in today's time, because you can understand it changes the social transformation, it ensures legal and social justice even beyond personal and religious belief, it protects minority rights, it strengthens democratic institutions by enforcing rule of law, and also it promotes inclusivity and rational decision making, which is very necessary in present times. Understood? So this is how you will write relevance of this constitutional morality in today's time. Now to conclude, you will say how constitutional morality has evolved, that this concept is actually not a static concept, rather it is a dynamic concept. That means we should not just blindly trust constitution, rather the constitution should also be changed as per the demand of changing times and demand of public, right? So this is how you will try to attempt your answer. If you have any problem, please submit your answers in the group, and I request each and every one of you to help your fellow aspirants in getting their answers right. Okay, so this was all for today's discussion. This is the practice question. Please do solve it. Let me know in the comment section after this video ends what is the right answer, and please watch the video if you haven't. Do not forget to hit the like button. I will see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Until then, keep reading, keep revising, and more importantly, keep writing the answers that I give you every day. Okay, so I'll see you again tomorrow at 4.